Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Bona Fide Church. So, today's topic is leaving WMSCOG, 3 failed prophecies, and the court case they lost. So, in case you're not familiar with WMSCOG, that stands for World Mission Society Church of God, based out of South Korea, but it has spread to the United States and to other various countries around the world. They teach that they had the second coming Christ in the flesh, and they teach that they have presently heavenly mother in the flesh. They teach about God the Father and Mother in the flesh, and they say that they have the perfect truth. However, upon further review, there is a court case that was filed in South Korea that proves otherwise. So let's get to it. The central issue: a religious organization may claim divine authority, but divine claims must be tested. This presentation reviews the corrected court record involving WMSCOG, or World Mission Society Church of God, and 2 former members. It distinguishes the civil case WMSCOG lost. That's the key word. The church lost the case, all right? They tried to sue somebody for defamation, and the court said not so. They were telling the truth about your false prophecies, all right? So WMSCOG lost from a separate criminal fraud complaint that did not result in prosecution. All right. It then applies biblical discernment passages, especially Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 20 through 22. So before we move further, I want you to know one thing right here. You see, I myself used to be in that doomsday cult or that church. So here is my public integrity statement, all right? So only say this if you can honestly say it. I'm telling you right now, I, meaning the one making this video, I am willing to testify under penalty of perjury that what I am saying is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, because I witnessed these things firsthand. So what did I witness firsthand? I witnessed firsthand about the failed prophecy of the year 2012. Now, in 1988, I was still a child. I had never heard of this church. In 1999, I knew nothing about them, had never heard of them. Oh, but in 2012, I used to be a member. And I know they testified that the world would either end or could not go past the year 2012. The missionary in the local church where I was at, I'm just going to say it was located in the southern region of the United States, right? The southern region of the United States, because I'm trying to respect people's privacy. That missionary and a deacon and a brother who is now a deacon, he may have been even promoted to a missionary by now, but he was a deacon the last I checked. They taught me in the year 2010 that the world could not go past the year 2012. And I witnessed that firsthand. They said it was Bible prophecy according to second coming Christ, who they called Ahn Sahng-hong, right? That's what they said. So I'm willing to say that in court. But I bet they're not willing to say it because they know they are liars. Now let's continue. So, civil defamation and damages case. WMSCOG sued 2 former members over public criticism. WMSCOG lost at trial, lost on appeal in the Seoul High Court, and the Supreme Court rejected its final appeal. You need to protect your loved ones. If these people come knocking on your door, or if they try to indoctrinate your sons or daughters while they're on a college campus, you've been warned. All right. They will take all of your money in the form of tithes and offering. They will have you doing free work and free labor at the church. And next thing you know, 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed. You becoming disassociated with your family members, because if they don't believe these lies at this church, then they will say that that's not your real family and only your heavenly family matters. They taught that as well. They did teach that. Let's keep going. Separate criminal fraud complaint. So this is a separate case. That's not the case we're talking about. In that case, somebody said that the church committed criminal fraud. So although they do lie about the end of the world and now they pretend they never taught it, it's hard to charge somebody with a crime for that because it's very difficult to prove. However, they lost the case for defamation. So this is important. The church said, hey, you're defaming me because you said to the world that we predicted the end of the world 3 times and it failed. The court in South Korea said you did say that the world was going to end those 3 times and we have proof. So anybody who is still in this church, I need you to know this is not a lie. You need to escape this false doctrine, even though it's hard. All right? And if you need help, you can reach out here or wherever you may can find the help. Okay, so the corrected public statement, WMSCOG lost the civil damages case and its appeals. All right, they went all the way to the Supreme Court in South Korea. They still lost, y'all. The secular court did not make a theological ruling under Deuteronomy. We're going to make that ruling here. All right, the theological conclusion comes from applying scripture to the documented failed and end times teachings. So how can a church that said they have second coming Christ and God the Mother in the flesh sue somebody for defamation and then lose the case? That means they're liars. If their church is liars, how can they have the perfect truth? This is what I'm asking anybody to come prove. If this church has the perfect truth, explain these 3 failed prophecies. All right, let's continue. So the case identified, plaintiff, World Mission Society Church of God. Case type, civil compensation and damages claim. Seoul High Court, I mean that's in Seoul, South Korea. Civil Chamber 19, appeal case number 2017, blah, blah, blah. You see the number there, all right? Trial court case, Suwon District Court, Songnam Branch, and you see that number right there. High Court ruling date, June 1st, 2018. All right, what WMSCOG demanded? The organization, meaning that church, sought 248 million KRW in damages. That's Korean wons, if I'm not mistaken, Korean money, from 2 former members based on 124 alleged instances of defamation arising from demonstrations in 2014. So they sued their former members. Now I want y'all to see how much that is in US dollars. Check this out. In US dollars, they sued their former members for $178,615.25. So all those tithes and offering and free labor meant nothing. They trying to sue them for this plus interest. You see? So that spiritual pimp game is strong. These people in these churches don't care anything about your life, your soul, or your family. They just want to get paid. And as soon as you expose the liars they are, then they try to sue the former members. And that's why the court ruled against them. So the church didn't get a dime. And I hope those 2 former members actually sue the church so they can get their tithes and offerings back. The litigation timeline, 2014. 2 former expelled members demonstrated publicly against WMSCOG around stations, roadsides, and church locations. WMSCOG filed a damages action seeking 248 million Korean won, or Korean dollars. That was in 2016. The Suwon District Court, Songnam Branch, dismissed WMSCOG's damages claims, November 2017. In June 2018, the Seoul High Court dismissed WMSCOG's appeal. That's the appeals or appellate court, y'all. So this church got their butt kicked in the regular civil court. Then they tried to appeal it to a higher court saying, hey, that was unfair how y'all treated our church. And the appeals court said, no, it wasn't unfair because you did prophesy falsely. And we saw documentation about your failed end times prophecies in 1988, 1999, and the year 2012. So anybody that's still in this church, you got to ask yourself, how is this the true church when they lied about the end of the world 3 times? Let's continue. This is no different than the Jehovah's Witnesses, which you yourselves would say are false, because the World Mission Society Church of God, they say that Jehovah's Witnesses are evil and false and that God hates them. But yet your false prophecy is somehow acceptable when you lie. Let's continue. October 2018, Korean news reports state that the Supreme Court dismissed WMSCOG's final appeal. You can't make this up. So again, this is not to mock anybody that's still in that church, because I know what it feels like to be in a high control group. What I'm telling you is, if you need help getting out of there, you found the right place. Watch this video, study it, look this case up for yourself, right? Look it up for yourself. You can find it online, right? There's an examining site. It's a site called Examining the WMSCOG. You can find it there, but I will be posting more information here. All right. What the court reviewed. The court reviewed WMSCOG teaching materials. See, their literature, pamphlets, and books that they handed out to people. That's what the court reviewed, y'all. That's their own written documentation. There's no getting out of that. Including material about tithing, see, preaching obligations, meaning you have to go door to door preaching a lot. Otherwise, they say you're cursed. Family relationships and spiritual family language. That's that heavenly family, earthly family stuff. And they use Matthew 12 and 48 through 50 to make you feel guilty for loving your physical family more than your so-called spiritual family. All right? Well, Jesus said, who is my mother, who is my brother, except those that do the will of my Father. But if you need some financial help, watch WMSCOG send you to your physical family. Even though you pay tithes and offering, they're not going to help you with your rent, mortgage, or anything. They say you need to go to your physical family. You can't make this up. The court noted that the demonstrations were tied to former members' criticism of WMSCOG doctrine and alleged harmful effects. The Seoul High Court stated that WMSCOG had promoted time-limited doomsday teachings around 1988, 1999, and 2012, and that some members experienced severe family conflict connected to excessive religious activity and donations. And by the way, they keep the Sabbath days and the feast, y'all. So this is what I mean when I say I knew about the Sabbath and the feast before I heard anything about the Israelites. Well, I had heard something very vaguely back in 1999, but it was very vague, and I was still in a regular Christian church. But see, there's nothing wrong with the Sabbath day. So that's how they get you. They show you about the Sabbath and the feast, but then they lead you into these other lies. All right. The court treated the demonstrations as religious criticism and public interest expression, not unlawful defamation. The three failed end times dates, 1988, 1999, and 2012. These dates are not a minor side issue. The legal record. I'm saying that 3 times because people who are indoctrinated in these cults, they will be afraid, ashamed, feel guilty, or afraid they're going to die and go to hell if they don't stay in a church that's lying to them. They still will feel obligated to pay tithes and offerings, y'all. So these people need prayer, they need help. So I'm trying to show you all that the true church cannot lie. And the courts record their lies in writing with proof that they lied. So Second Coming Christ is not going to lie to you about 1988, 1999, and 2012 to test your faith and belief. Show me in the Bible where Jesus Christ himself, or Yehoshua, right? Or Yeshua, whatever name you want to use. Show me where he lied to his disciples 3 times and then told them he was testing their faith. You can't make this up. For Christians, failed claims about the end made in the name of God must be tested by scriptures. All right? So if you're a Christian or you're a believer in the Bible, you got to test this by scripture. All right, let's continue. The trial court dismissed the claims. The Suwon District Court, Songnam branch, the trial court dismissed WMSCOG's damages claims. They didn't win that lawsuit for 248 million Korean wons. They didn't get that money. in November 2017. Korean reporting stated that the challenged expressions were not treated as unlawful defamation. Public interest criticism. The court recognized a high level of protection for religious criticism, especially when it concerns doctrine, public debate, and social concerns. The key public-facing point: World Mission Society Church of God did not win by proving the former members' public criticism was unlawful. The civil claims were dismissed. So they lost, y'all. So they got God in the flesh, and they still lost that case. So that means, how are they the true church when the court say they lying? It's just that simple. So get your family members out of there. Get your children out of there. If you are in there, I'm trying to help you escape. But if you still want to stay there and pay all your tithes and offering and do free labor and be sleep deprived like a lot of people are, then it's your choice after this point. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. So I'm not saying you look at this today and you automatically leaving tomorrow. But look at this once, look at it twice, look at it 3 times, do the research on the examining site, judge for yourself. Look at the scriptures we're going to look at today too, all right? I'm not judging you because it's hard to leave, but you need to know that you're not wrong for demanding truth. God does not require you to stay in a church that is lying to you and taking your money, plain and simple. So, the High Court explained that questions and suspicions about a religious organization may be broadly raised for public debate when they have a reasonable basis. The judgment connected the disputed speech to religious criticism and public interest. So they lost at trial and they lost on appeal. They got their butts kicked multiple times because they were lying. What the court did and did not decide. Okay, the court did decide the civil claims failed. The former members' demonstrations were treated as protected religious criticism and public interest speech. The court did not issue a Christian theological ruling declaring WMSCOG false prophets under Deuteronomy. We're going to look at the book of Deuteronomy ourselves and let the Bible determine whether they are false prophets, all right? So we don't need the worldly or secular court to do that. We can look at the Bible for ourselves. The biblical conclusion belongs to the Bible. Once time-specific prophecies are documented, like 1988, 1999, and 2012, yes. And as far as 2012 goes, I myself am willing to testify under penalty of perjury in court right now, because I know what the missionary, the deacon, and the other brother/deacon told me. And a deaconess, matter of fact. 3 or 4 people told me. You can't make this up. To varying degrees. Some of them told me verbatim. Some of them hinted at it for months and years at a time. But they all know they taught that lie, and now they pretend that they didn't teach it. And that is sickening and disgusting, because they know they're doing that to control people's lives. And they use fear of hell and death to keep people from leaving this church. The people in the church are not necessarily stupid. They are afraid to leave because they think they're going to be killed if they do. Scripture supplies the standard for discernment. The biblical test, Deuteronomy chapter 18. This is what's going to determine whether they are false prophets or not. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 20 through 22 in the King James Version. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, ... meaning it's a little more text in there, even that prophet shall die. That's the point. When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. So they said the world was going to end in 1988, 1999, and in 2012, and it didn't happen any one of those 3 times. So that means, according to this, they shall die for those words, right? And since they have not repented, that death sentence is still coming. False prophets are not approved of in the Old or New Testament. Let's continue. The warning: do not follow a false spiritual authority. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 1 through 5 warns against being led away from the true God, even when a religious figure claims signs, dreams, or spiritual authority. Matthew 7 and 15 through 20 warns that false prophets are known by their fruits. Matthew 24, 23 through 26 warns believers not to believe claims that Christ has appeared in secret or hidden places. 1 John chapter 4 verse 1 commands believers to test the spirits because many false prophets have gone out into the world. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 commands believers to prove all things and hold fast what is good. So do not follow a false spiritual authority. I don't care how deep their subjects or teachings sound. If they're liars, they're still liars. Now let's continue. Fear is not proof. Pressure is not truth. You have the right to examine outside information. You have the right to ask whether predictions attributed to God came to pass. You have the right to protect your mind, your family, your finances, your body, and your future. A true work of God does not need coercion. That means somebody forcing you to do something. To coerce somebody is to force them. A true work of God does not need information control. They tell you don't look on the internet to research their church. That's because they know you're going to find out the truth, that they're mind controlling you to take all your money and your free labor. So I don't want you to waste another 5 or 10 years out of your life like many of you already have. Or fear to survive examination. See? So a true work of God doesn't need you to force somebody with coercion. It doesn't need information control or fear to survive examination. If you don't believe what I'm saying in this video, go look for that court case yourself. Go to the WMSCOG website. And they translated that court case from Korean into English. So that's public knowledge. So you can investigate what I'm saying. But I bet you World Mission Society Church of God doesn't want you to investigate what I'm saying because they know it's going to prove that they were lying. And they're still lying. So everybody who came to the church after the year 2012, they pretend that that never happened. And as of this recording, this is 2026, August 19th. So you won't even know about 2012 at all if you got baptized in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, all these years. So that's not your fault, what you didn't know. What I'm trying to do is make it where you don't waste the rest of your life because somebody holding information from you. Now, if you know about this already and you're still comfortable staying there, giving them all your time and money, then be my guest because you're going in with your eyes wide open. But I'm trying to help people who don't know this history so that they can make a choice whether they are comfortable with these failed prophecies. If these failed prophecies don't bother you and you believe that somebody who lied about the end of the world 3 times is still the true church and true prophet, well, then you can stay there in those lies. And I don't feel sorry for you at all. But somebody who does not know, they deserve a chance to know the truth so that they can make an informed decision based on the Bible and the court records that I'm so thankful to God exist. So I thank that court in South Korea for preserving the record so somebody can know the truth. So biblical conclusion, truth does not fear evidence. The court record shows that WMSCOG, or World Mission Society Church of God, lost the civil court case brought against former members who publicly criticized the organization. The record also documents time-specific end times teachings associated with 1988, 1999, and 2012. So you need to examine, test, and follow truth. That's what you need to do. Sources and the legal notes for those who think this is a joke or a game. So those, of course, a little small. That's why I zoomed in on it. Number 1, Seoul High Court Civil Chamber 19, Summary of Decision Case 2017 NA 2069268, June 1st, 2018. Translated copy reviewed. Trial Court. identified as Suwon District Court, Songnam Branch 2016, GAHA P as in pig 207016. The appeal was dismissed and costs assessed against World Mission Society Church of God. So they had to pay the court costs, not the defendants that they tried to sue. And you got 5 more sources and legal notes, right? So you can see that for yourself. All right. Let me zoom out a little bit so it'll all fit on the screen. So you can screenshot this, right? This part of the video, pause it, screenshot it, whatever. That's why I'm letting it sit there. Screenshot it on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, desktop, whatever you're watching on, so that you can zoom in close and read these and look it up for yourself. Number 2 is the Kukmin Igbo, November 20th, 2017, reported dismissal of WMSCOG's damages claim by the Suwon District Court, so on and so forth. There's a lot there. All right, so look, I hope that this has been helpful. Hope this has been some edification to you. If you are trapped in this cult, in this doomsday cult church, all right, it's not your fault because they've been lying to you and withholding information. All I'm trying to do is let you know that fear is not proof. So because you're afraid that you're going to die or go to hell if you leave that church, that's not proof that they're telling you the truth. You can scare a little child with the boogeyman, all right? You can tell them not to go in the bathroom and say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of the mirror, and they're afraid somebody's going to show up and kill them or kidnap them, right? And pressure is not truth. Your friends and church members at the church pressuring you to stay, that's not truth. Here's your biblical truth here. So let me read it one more time. The biblical text, Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 20 through 22. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, even that prophet shall die. When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, meaning that thing does not happen, nor come to pass, meaning it does not happen, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken, because God is not a liar, y'all. So if the prophet says something in the name of the Lord and that thing didn't happen, that means they are a false prophet, because God is not a man that he should lie. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings, shalom, and have a good day.